in store. And I thought what we'll do is, it's a gnarly old piece and all different thicknesses and all the bits and pieces. So what I thought I'd do is I'd take the opportunity to make the lids with these. These will come up really rich, deep red. And of course with the balance of this, it's got a lot of figure. I'm going to have to fill it up with resin and all the bits and pieces. So I found I've got my Tremels out, the old Tremels from back in the day. I just found a centre point here somewhere along there. So I'll just mark out around here. So it'll eventually end up with a nice soft edge here, nice soft round piece here, a live edge on this side. So I'll clean up that live edge as well. Now the legs, I've got 2 or 3 of these from another job left over, so I can do that. Maybe just put on 3 legs, 3 of those, make it a hall stand. That's the start of our next lot of projects here at Earl Hill Studios. So first things first, we'll need a template. So I'll just use this old piece of plywood and we'll get that mark again, which was around about there. I need to hold that still. Oh, I think we've got it there. All right. Just using a little jigsaw for the cutout here. Just scribe the line there with the Tremels, and we'll just cut this out. It's going to take a little while, so I won't show you the whole lot. Here we go. The thickness is not too bad there. It's looks like that might be okay. That's about right for a nice little tabletop. So we're just going to clean that up a little bit. I've already started there, so I'll just give you a closer look at that. So we'll just getting a pretty reasonable finish on that actually. Just very cautious of these big knots here that just might tend to gouge out if you go too hard on that. So we'll just have a look out for that, but in the meantime we shall keep moving. So as you can see, an afternoon of milling, and I've actually cleaned this up 2 or 3 times before completion. But what do? I've got two vacuums set up, this one and the big dusty, and still this is what I get. However, just looking at what we've got here now, wow, so lots of knot holes in there. I think we've got most of it that we need. All of this have to be filled with resin now. Down to about 20 mil there. So that's as good as it gets, I think. Still got scope for take a little bit more off if we want to clean off the resin. That's about it. And we flattened off yesterday, spent all day yesterday, dirty job. Beautiful piece of timber. It's got some great character in it. So they're all going to be filled with resin. So we'll use the Lucy Clear. This is not an advertisement, it's just what I use. It's great stuff. You can use it really thin just to seal everything. And then we'll do a deeper pour, probably 2 or 3 pours. This will soak up all that stuff in there. Will just soak up this resin like crazy. So you've got both sides going on here. So one side has to be masked up completely and then done. Resin, but first of all we need to grind out all the dirty, scungy little bits that are a little bit loose in there. And there's quite a few. If you don't do that, that just seems to, I don't know, you could knock it out very easily or what have you. So we'll try and do our best and get in amongst that. And so I'll just show you briefly how we go about it. However, it's going to take a little while, so I won't film it all. Just on that alone, there's so much crud in there. All right, so we've had a little bit of a disaster last night. So as you can see, we've had quite a bit run off. The resin pour is actually just all drained away. Now I don't know whether it's soaked up into the timber or whether it's just soaked in underneath here. It's all masked up, but also I can't see that it's run anywhere. So it certainly hasn't come out underneath the table. So I'm just hoping that I can give it another little pour. Hopefully it's sealed now. It's going to be an absolute bitch to get off. I'm going to leave everything in place now and re-pour it. If it is just soaking it up, I guess we just have to wear that. There's not much you can do with this stuff. It can be quite porous. I know maybe it's all sticky, it's all stuck to this whole formwork. I may have to cut it off, mill it off, who knows. But we'll give it another go and put another dose in. So with this big Redgum slab, we've had several goes at filling this. There was one here that I could not get the leak fixed. So we had to mask and keep masking and using all type quick set cork in here to quickly get that leak under control. But we finally get there, so now we're just going to trim it back up and flip this over. I've had to cut out, because it was all stuck to the bottom, I've had to cut out the moulding, the formwork. So I'm going to have to get that off somehow once I flip it over and it's all stuck with the resin, even though I masked it up like crazy. Never mind, so we'll get this underway. Alright, so it looks like it's come up alright. Didn't really miss too much. We got a little bit shy in there, but you won't even see that. This of course is the underside of the table. We've done pretty well to fill all these holes. You can see them there. In fact, I'll just put a bit of moisture on those, and Alright, so that's just putting a first stage of the sanding process over this piece. It's all come up really nicely, just this filled up every micro hole in there, knot hole, every crack, every crevice, whatever you could find. So that's all now come to a finalised end, so that's down to about 80 grit there. I do have to bring that down to about 240 grit. In the meantime, I've just got to finish the edges. So as you can see, I've got a live edge on this side here, and on the other side where we cut the original table down a bit, I've got a nice perfectly round circle there. So there'll be a semicircle on one side, double-sided tape on here. We'll just trim that side down to a lovely perfect round. And of course, on these edges here, you might think, well, they look all right as they are, but they're actually, if we're going to bring this piece inside, I made a nice softer piece for the inside. We've got a few options here, so I've got some grinding bits that'll just chew those spikes and everything out a little bit. Just get in there nicely and just tidy all that up. It just looks and feels a lot better when something's inside. You need to soften up those edges a little bit. So we'll get everything underway, get this thing finished. So we'll just get a bit of double-sided tape on here. Just quickly, don't need too much, as long as there's enough there to hold everything together. Oh, come on. See, probably enough. I'll give it a fourth bit. Oh, that's pretty good. Should not move. Alrighty, so we got there in the end. I'll just take that template off again. Double-sided tape works pretty well. So now we're just going to clean up these edges. So let's give you a closer look at that. See there, they're all a bit gnarly, spiky, very difficult to even put a finish on. So we'll get all that cleaned up. Alright, so we've just mounted all that up in the big vise. So I think we'll swap out to this baby here. These are all just oversized wood rasps, very aggressive, and down to the smoother ones. And then we'll just finish that off with good old sandpaper. But we'll get a nice, the whole objective is just get a nice smooth finish through there. Even though it's still live edge, it's a lot softer. I'm not going to work through that, I won't show you the whole deal because there's just a whole lot of filing and sanding. So just to finish this baby off, I've pulled out my contour sander so we can get right into the curves and dips and grooves. And so here we go. It just gets it really in nicely there. Got a little bit of reflection in the pad there, so you get a really good, nice in deep. Those scratches out. Bloody beautiful. By the time it's finished all that, there won't be any scratch marks in there, and we'll have just a beautiful soft edge on that live edge there, just with the contour sander. You can even feel that, it just feels really good, really nice. So we'll just work our way around that whole edge there. Alrighty, so just want to put a bit of a round over on this hard edge here. This is the semicircular edge. Take a bit of the sand, a bit of the edge off these live edges as well. Once that's done, we can get the final sanding on. We'll finish at about 180 and be using some Rubio Monocoat to finish that with. And then of course we'll get the legs on. Alright, so on the last legs here. So we're going to finish the piece with some Rubio Monocoat. You might be able to see that there on the screen, Rubio Monocoat. So that's a pretty popular one, very expensive, but it does go a long way. The easiest way, the most accurate way really of doing this is to weigh each portion. So let's have a look here. Alright, maybe about half of that. So 6, 8, 10. So 10 mil of that. Tear that off, and 30 mil of this one. That should be okay. Alright, so give that a good stir. Nothing like getting a good mix. You can see there, I think you might be able to see in there. We've got quite a bit there, so it may well soak in quite a bit. It doesn't take too long to dry. However, a full cure is probably 7 days. But you can handle it pretty much next day or even within a couple of hours. I wouldn't put it to use for about 7 days, give it a good cure. And this is a favourite bit of completing these jobs, is getting these finishes on, because just watching everything pop out is just amazing. I love it. Watch that grain pop out. It's a really deep, rich, dark red. Pretty sure it's a Redgum. couldn't quite identify it when I picked it up out of some old guy's shed up in Malanda anyways. Now I've used a little bit of white non-scratch cloth there just to get that all in nicely and around the edges there. Fine. I know there's a few blemishes there, but this is the underside, remember. No one's going to be looking at this bit. It's just sealing everything up. So the whole idea is to let that dry off for a few minutes and come back, turn it over, just wipe off that little bit of excess. Now this is the special bit. So as you can see, got a little bit of the dribble there. We'll get the rest of this on. So we'll get this nicely spread out now. See all that? Spreads beautifully. There we are, look at that. No need to panic, you've got plenty of time for the cure. It's not going to go off on you as you're doing it. I've definitely got enough. Interestingly, you can see it just soaking in a bit more in other spots. So it might be just as well we've got a touch a little bit extra. I think we'll let this soak in as well. So if there is any spots there that do soak up a little bit more than others, then we can catch them. Catch those drips underneath as well, because they're a little annoying if you don't catch them and then they're all dried out and then you see them the next day. Probably should just, it'll sort of self-level out a little bit as well as soak in a little bit. And I reckon this is just going to be delightful. All right, so just get the excess off there. So I might just put up in the corner there, this way or that way, what this thing looked like to start with. And give me your comments. Let me know what you think. I like a little bit of feedback. What we need to do is pretty much put these legs on. So I had these from another job where I needed only one leg, come in a pack of 4, so why not just use them up on this little job here. This is called spider legs, and that'll be it for the job. I won't take you through all that because that's quite a simple little process. Just screw those legs on and then we'll tip it back upside down and get some studio shots out of that.